For thousands of years, the stars followed one law. It was written in no book. It had no name. But all advanced civilizations knew it. Never interfere with a developing species. The law was older than the Galactic Union itself. It was created. After a brutal age of war, when powerful empires used weaker species like toys enslaving, experimenting, or simply destroying them, that era almost destroyed the galaxy. So the law was born. It was not just a rule. It became a warning, and for thousands of years, it was never broken. Until Earth. Until humanity. It began silently. No war. No declaration. No warning. Just a scream. Cut short, the colony on Cetaphore was Earth's pride. A small settlement on the edge of Alpha Centauri. Scientists, engineers, families all working together to build a second home for humanity. Protected by a defense satellite and one light escort ship. They never expected trouble. On the 14th day of the third solar cycle, something entered their skies. It wasn't human. The satellite systems picked up the ship, but only for seconds before being wiped. The escort ship sent one message: unknown contact. We're engaging. And then silence. Back on Earth, Europa Station's monitoring center received that single broken transmission. Technician Lane Carter watched the signal blink out. He called his supervisor, who called her director, who called Earth Command. By the time anyone could respond, it was too late. Ceta-4 was gone. No life signs. No structures. No heat. Nothing. Just cold silence and a blackened surface. A meeting was held in the Council of Earth, a room filled with generals, scientists, diplomats, and the president. Confusion ruled. This was not a natural event, said Admiral Ross. Someone did this. But who? Asked Dr. Anwin, Earth's leading xenologist. We've never made contact. No alien race has spoken to us. We thought they were observing us from afar. They were, Ross said, voice cold. They watched, they waited. But now, one of them acted. Why break the rule now? Another council member asked. No one had answers. Only theories. Some said it was a mistake. Others believed it was a test. Some feared it was just the beginning. But Admiral Ross wasn't interested in theories. He was a man of action. Years ago, he served in Earth's Secret Space Division. He saw things most didn't believe. Ancient ruins hidden on the dark side of moons. Signals that whispered in unknown languages. And one file, classified beyond. Top secret. File name, Velkari. He remembered it well. The Velkari were an ancient empire old enough to have seen the fall of others. According to intercepted alien transmissions, they were aggressive, proud, and believed in strength above all. Had been quiet for centuries. Until now. Admiral Ross stood before the council. I recommend we activate Protocol Black. Silence filled the room. That name hadn't been spoken aloud in decades. Protocol Black was not a plan for defense. It was a plan for retaliation. The president looked at him. You think we're ready? For that, Raz nodded. We don't have a choice. If we wait, they'll hit us again. If we act, we show the galaxy we are not prey. Far from Earth, in a deep facility beneath the moon's surface, something began to stir. Massive steel doors, untouched for years, hissed open. Inside were war machines. Earth had built in secret prototypes, powered by unstable tech recovered. From unknown sources. They were not beautiful. They were not safe, but they were deadly. Project Ragnarok was never supposed to be used. It had been buried when humanity chose peace. But now, peace was over. A dark ship, sharper than anything Earth had built before, rose from the facility. It had no name yet, no identity, just a purpose. To hunt. 3 days later, The Revenant, the ship, built from Earth's darkest designs, entered silent space near the border of Sol. The mission was simple: track, find, and, if necessary, kill. Crew was handpicked. Commander Ilian Ward, a former scout captain. Kira, a hybrid AI-human technician. Juno Voss, weapons specialist with a cold smile. And 4 soldiers who had trained in zero-gravity combat their entire lives. They were humanity's sword, and they were angry. The Revenant's sensors picked up a faint trail traces of an energy signature that matched what was recorded during the Ceta 4 incident. That meant one thing: the attackers were still nearby, on the edge of the Tarsi's belt, hidden behind ice asteroids. The Revenant found them. 3 alien ships, sleek and curved like predators. Their hulls shimmered, cloaked in tech Earth had never seen. But the Revenant saw through it. Kira adjusted the stealth drive. "They don't know we're here," she whispered. Commander Ward narrowed his eyes. "Good. Then we strike first." The battle was short but brutal. The Revenant fired its prototype, rail cannon fused with quantum energy tearing through the lead alien ship. The second tried to flee, but was cut off by drone interceptors. The third turned to fight and launched unknown plasma weapons. The Revenant took a hit. Deck 3 exploded. Juno Voss was thrown into a wall, blood trailing in zero gravity. But the crew fought on. Kira rerouted power to the forward cannon. "Give me 10 seconds," she yelled. Ward locked onto the final ship. "Make it 5, he said. A final blast ripped through the last Valkyrie ship. Silence returned. Only then did they realize one escape pod had launched. Ward ordered it recovered. Inside was a single being, Valkyrie, tall, pale blue skin, 4 eyes, metal implants. Wounded, but alive. The crew brought it aboard, locking it in a containment field. Ward stood before it. "You attacked our colony," he said. The Valkyrie bared its sharp teeth. "Weak worlds are meant to fall." "You broke the law," Ward replied. The alien laughed. "There is no law, only power." Ward stared into its eyes. "Then it's time the galaxy remembered what power really looks like." Back on Earth, the Council received the battle data. The Revenant had won. The enemy was real. And one thing was certain now. The rule was broken. Humanity would no longer wait. Across every colony, old warships were reactivated. Soldiers were recalled. Hidden weapons were pulled from vaults. Earth didn't plan to conquer. It planned to punish. They called it the Day of Fire. Others would remember it as the day humanity stepped out of the shadows, and the stars shivered. But deep in space, in a forgotten part of the galaxy, something else had awakened. A beacon, ancient, alien, reactivated by the energy used in the Revenant's cannon. It sent a signal, not to the Valkyrie, but to something even older, even darker. And it had one question: who dares disturb the order of the stars? Humanity had entered the game, but they had no idea just how many enemies were watching now. The rule that held the stars was gone, and the galaxy was about to burn. The message came at 3:14 a.m. Earth time. Europa Station, floating above Jupiter's frozen moon, was silent, its lights low, systems calm. Inside the communications room, Technician Ayla Monroe sat alone, sipping cold coffee. She had watched the stars every night for 5 years, and they had never changed. Until now. Her console beeped once, then again. Something new was happening. Ayla leaned forward. A signal, old, garbled, almost broken, was trying to reach them. She adjusted the frequency, running a filter to clean it. Slowly, the words formed, distorted but real. Unknown contact. "They're here. Help us." Then silence. The signal stopped. Gone. Just like that. Ayla froze. She checked the Origin. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from Mars. It was from a human colony. Europa Outpost 12, located on the icy surface below. She tried to respond. No answer. Then she contacted command. No delay. No second thought. Within 10 minutes, alarms echoed across the station. Commander Rice, a veteran with gray in his hair and fire in his eyes, stormed into the control deck. Status. Ayla showed him the recording. It came from Outpost 12. It called for help. Then everything went dark. He looked at the screen, brows furrowed. No signs of power. No life. No transmissions. It's like the entire station just shut down. Sabotage? Someone asked. Impossible. They had triple backups. Even a nuclear core. Rice stood quietly for a moment. Then he gave the order. Send a drone. I want eyes down there in 5 minutes. The drone descended quickly. It broke through the icy clouds of Europa and zoomed toward the surface. Ayla, Rice, and the rest of the command team watched the live feed. The outpost was there, but not right. The main dome was cracked. One section had collapsed completely. The outer lights were off. The landing pads empty. Then they saw the front doors. Bent, forced open. The drone moved inside. Its lights scanned the hallways. No bodies. No blood. No damage. But also no people. It was like they had vanished. All 87 colonists gone. The drone turned a corner. And then the feed cut out. Static. Everyone stared at the screen. Rice whispered, just like Theta 4. Ayla's hands shook. Sir, we've lost 2 colonies in 3 days. He nodded. And I'm starting to think we're next. Earth Command responded fast. An emergency meeting was held. Commander Rice joined by HoloLink. Admiral Raz was there in person. So was President Ilana Creed. This time, no one doubted the truth. The Velkari had broken the rule. And they weren't finished. But something was different now. Theta 4 was destroyed, said Rice. But Europa Outpost 12 wasn't. Dr. Anwen leaned forward. What do you mean? No bodies. No burn marks. No debris. It wasn't an attack. It was a collection. A collection? The president repeated. Yes. Rice's voice dropped. I think they came to take people. The theory spread fast. Some believed the Velkari were experimenting. Others thought they were. Building something, a weapon, a force, maybe even a slave army. No one knew for sure. But Earth couldn't wait. They activated Protocol Warden, a new defensive net of satellites, drones, and ships around every major colony and moon base. But for Admiral Raz, it wasn't enough. He knew this wouldn't stop. The VEL carry, it had to go further. Earth needed to send a message the galaxy would never forget. So he called in a man few had heard of. A ghost from the old wars. Commander Van Locke. Van Locke had disappeared years ago. Some said he was dead. Others whispered he had joined a secret project. The truth? He had become something else. Part soldier, part shadow. A weapon Earth had kept hidden until now. He returned wearing a simple black coat, his eyes cold but calm. Raz greeted him personally. Welcome back, he said. Locke nodded. What's the mission? Raz handed him a tablet. Find who took our people. Find out why, and if necessary, make sure they never do it again. Locke opened the file and saw the name of the target. Velkari research barge Theta 9, last seen drifting near Saturn's outer rings. He smiled. I'll take the Revenant. Raz agreed. And so, Earth's most advanced warship was reactivated. As the Revenant departed from lunar dock. Its crew watched the stars. Commander Ward had taken damage last mission. He was in medical stasis. So Locke took the chair. Kira, the Hybrid AI, now fully integrated into the ship, greeted him. "Welcome aboard, Commander Locke. Status?" he asked. "All systems green. Coordinates set. Stealth engaged." "Good. Let's go knock." Meanwhile, in deep space, the Valkyrie barge drifted slowly. Inside, the captured humans were kept in pods, frozen, unconscious, but alive. Alien scientists moved silently between them. They were studying, testing, recording. They spoke in clicks and hisses. But their message was clear. The humans evolved too fast. Their tech is unstable. Their minds unpredictable. But they could be useful, once broken. But they didn't know the Revenant was coming. Didn't know Locke had boarded their trail. Didn't know Earth was done asking questions. When the Revenant arrived, it didn't announce itself. It cloaked near an asteroid field and waited. Locke observed the barge through the screen. No weapons. Minimal shields. All focus is on their research. Kira added, "Their security is low. But the ship is huge. 3 levels. Hundreds of rooms." Locke gave the order. "Prepare infiltration." He led the boarding team himself, 4 soldiers in black armor, silent and fast. They launched in micropods, invisible to sensors. In under 5 minutes, they were inside. The corridors were dim. The air cold. Green lights blinked overhead. Locke signaled silence. They moved forward, step by step. Then, they found the pods. Rows and rows of frozen humans. Children. Engineers. Doctors. Even soldiers. All alive. Kira's voice came through the comms. "I'm unlocking the locks from orbit. But I've found something worse." "What?" "A second list. Coordinates. Other colonies. Other planned collections." Locke gritted his teeth. "How many?" "6 more. In the next 10 days." That was the final straw. Locke placed explosive charges across the main chamber. He whispered, "Wake the prisoners. And then we blow this ship to hell." The escape was chaos. Alarms blared. Valkyrie guards tried to stop them, but they weren't prepared for humans, trained to move like shadows. Locke personally carried 2 children back to the extraction pod. One soldier, Corporal Diaz, stayed behind to hold the line. He didn't make it out, but the rest did. As the escape pods returned to the Revenant, the barge exploded, silent fire in space. The stars watching as the galaxy shifted again. Earth had just done something no other species dared. They broke into Valkyrie space, rescued their people. And destroyed a military facility. Without warning. Without mercy. Back on Earth, the news spread. A broadcast played across colonies and cities. The president spoke from the Unity Hall. "They came for our people. We brought them back. And we will do it again. No one breaks the law and walks away." Alien species across the galaxy watched and listened. Some were shocked, others impressed, but a few were afraid. Because for the first time, they saw something in humanity that had always been sleeping. Something old, something dangerous. Rage. Far beyond Earth. In the core systems of the Galactic Union, ambassadors gathered in panic. "Earth is unstable," one said. "They were attacked first," another replied. "But they retaliated without approval. That's a violation." "Then what do you suggest?" Silence. Because no one really wanted war with humanity. Not after what they had just seen. And not when something even worse was now waking up. Something buried deeper than the Valkyrie, older than the Union, darker than any star. Something that had been waiting, and it had felt Earth's return, felt their fire, and it whispered, "They have broken the silence. At last, the game begins." The Revenant returned in silence. It didn't land at any known base. Instead, it entered a hidden dock deep beneath Earth's surface, far below the Atlantic Ocean. Inside a classified site, called Vault Horizon. Only 12 people in the world knew it existed. Now 13, because Commander Van Locke was about to meet something Earth had kept secret for almost 90 years. Not a ship, not a weapon, a being. Inside Vault Horizon, thick steel doors opened to a dark corridor lit by red lights. Locke walked alone, his boots echoing with each step. Dr. Anwen met him halfway, holding a small data chip. "You asked for forgotten weapons," she said quietly. "This one almost destroyed us once." "I'm listening," Locke replied. Anwen handed him the chip. Code name, Aegis. Found in 2158. Location, Mars. Buried under 12 kilometers of rock. Not made by humans. Not made by Valkyrie either. What is it? Locke asked. Not sure. We think it's something alive. Or something that used to be. She led him to a deep chamber reinforced walls. No windows, sensors everywhere. At the center was a tank. Floating inside, locked in suspended field, was a humanoid shape. 7 feet tall, covered in smooth silver armor. Its face was hidden. No eyes, no mouth. Just silence. It's not a machine, Anwen said. It's not a person either, but it's listening. We know that much. Locke stared at it. And it's dangerous? She gave a bitter smile. It tore through a mech battalion when we tried to move it. That was 40 years ago. Since then, we've left it alone. Locke stepped closer to the tank. What do you want from me? Anwen asked. I want to wake it up, Locke replied. She laughed once, sharply. You don't wake up a storm. You survive it. Elsewhere, in Valkyrie space, the losses hurt. Theta-9 was gone. So were 2 hunter ships. And now the Valkyrie High Command was beginning to panic. Earth is rising too fast, said one elder. Their technology is accelerating beyond projection. Another hissed. They've learned to use quantum drives. They broke into our research ship. They're acting like ... us. But one figure stood calmly in the dark chamber. High Chancellor, Threx. He was older than any of them. Wiser and colder. They have awakened something, he said softly. Something we tried to bury. What should we do? Threx turned his sharp eyes toward the star map. Send the obsidian flame. A silence fell across the room. The obsidian flame was not a fleet. Not an army. It was a single ship. A war cruiser older than the Valkyrie Empire, itself equipped with void weaponry, capable of bending reality near its core. No species had ever seen it and lived. Until now. It had only watched. Now. It would hunt. Back on Earth. The Revenant docked for upgrades, repairs, and something more. New system was being installed taken directly from alien wreckage. Kira, the AI technician, oversaw everything. She paused when Locke returned from Vault Horizon. You found something, she said. He nodded. Not something, someone. He handed her the data file. She plugged it into the ship's interface. Suddenly, the screen flashed. Ancient pattern recognized. Query. Name input. Authorization granted. Kira blinked. It responded to the ship's systems. That's not possible, Locke said. And yet it had. The being in the tank was waking up. One day later, Vault Horizon. Shook. An energy pulse erupted from Chamber 0. Every alarm in the base went red. When Locke and Anwen entered. They found the tank. Empty. The being was standing. It didn't move, didn't speak, but the air felt ... heavier. Like something vast had returned. Then it raised its hand. In words, but into their minds. Who woke me? Locke stepped forward. Earth, we need your help. A long silence. Then, the galaxy still burns? Yes, Locke said. Worse than ever. The being nodded once. Then I shall burn with it. Bring me to the stars. It took time, but they made it. Work. The being, now called Aegis, was fused with the Revenant systems. It did not control the ship, but it lived inside its heart, its power now fueling the vessel's new core. And for the first time in history, a human warship carried a living weapon from the fore-memory. The Revenant's stealth became stronger, its weapons became faster, and its presence dashed darker. As it lifted off from Earth, the clouds parted like they feared it. Their new mission? Intercept the obsidian flame. They didn't know where it was exactly. But Kira had tracked several unusual gravitational spikes near Saturn. Something large was moving, too large for any normal ship. Locke stared out the window. Time to find it. He didn't know yet. The flame was already watching them. Waiting. Meanwhile, in the core systems of the Galactic Union, species gathered in secret. Many feared Earth. Some respected it. But one thing was now clear. The old balance was broken. A group of ancient races called the Silent Accord met for the first time in 300 years. They were not part of the Union. They were older. Stronger. And they had one job: keep the oldest weapons buried. One of their leaders, a being made of crystal and light, stood before the others. The humans have found Aegis, it said. The seal is broken. Another replied, they do not understand what it is, what it can do. The first being's voice turned grim. If it remembers who it truly is, the galaxy may not survive. Back aboard the Revenant, Aegis began to speak more. To Locke. To Kira. Its voice was calm, slow, but always distant. I remember war. I remember stars falling. I remember the Valkyrie before they were born. What are you? Kira asked. Not what. When? Aegis replied. I am from before your time, before the law. I was built by hands that turned against their own son. Locke asked, were you made to protect? A pause. No, I was made to punish. And then they found the obsidian flame. It appeared near. Titan. Massive. Black. Its hull seemed to eat the light around it. No broadcasts. No signals. Just silence. This Revenant moved into position. Kira whispered. It's powering something. Building. Energy. Locke gave the order. Arm everything. Prepare to strike. And then, before they could move, a beam of dark energy struck them. The Revenant shook violently. Necks flickered. Shields cracked. And in the middle of the storm, Aegis stepped forward. It raised its hand and stopped the next attack with a single motion. Locke stared. You're absorbing it. Aegis turned slowly. No, it said. I am reminding it who came first. The flame fired again. This time, Aegis answered. A pulse of white-blue light erupted from the Revenant, hitting the flame. Dead center. And for the first time in recorded galactic history. The obsidian flame retreated. Not destroyed, but wounded. It vanished into a warped tear, escaping, but not victorious. Locke stood in silence. You beat it. Aegis didn't answer, because deep inside its mind, something else had awakened. A memory, a voice, and a name it had long forgotten. Not Aegis. Not weapon, but firstborn, the first guardian of a dying galaxy. And now humanity was the last hope it had. The Revenant floated in silence, not damaged, but changed. Its engines hummed with strange energy. Its lights flickered with something ancient. And deep inside the command deck, Commander Van Locke stared at the figure standing at the center. The being once called Aegis no longer looked calm. Its silver armor now glowed faintly blue. Its movements slower. Its voice had stopped. And then, all at once, he spoke, not out loud, but into their minds. I remember. The lights dimmed. The crew froze. Kira, the ship's AI, warned. Unstable neural resonance forming. He's broadcasting something. But It wasn't an attack, it was a memory. A memory so old, so vast, that it couldn't be contained in words. It poured into every screen, every sensor, every mind on board Dot, and it showed them a galaxy they had never seen. Before the Volcari. Before the Union. Before Earth was even born. There was another age, a golden one. Dozens of civilizations rose at once. Peaceful, scientific, curious. They explored. They created. They worked together. They built machines that could shape planets. They forged alliances between species that had never known war. And then they reached something they shouldn't have. The center, at the heart of the galaxy. Behind clouds of dark matter and collapsing suns, they found a region where the laws of physics broke down, where time shifted, where light bent. Where something watched them back. They tried to understand it, tried to talk to it, tried to control it. And in doing so, they unleashed it. The memory burned into the Revenant systems, images of worlds turning black, stars blinking out like candles, space folding in unnatural ways. Something was feeding, something alive, but not like anything they had ever known. It didn't want to conquer. It wanted silence. Emptiness. It wanted all life gone. To stop it. The ancient species built the firstborn, the being now standing on the Mund. Revenant. He was not made to lead. He was made to die. To fight. To hold the line while the galaxy fell apart. He was one of many, but as the memory showed, he was the only one left. The rest of his kind had been destroyed, either by the entity or by their own creators, who feared them in the end. And so he was buried, sealed away, left to sleep. Until now. The memory ended. Kira gasped. Her systems almost crashed. The crew stood in silence. Locke finally spoke. You were made to fight something worse than anything we've seen. The firstborn nodded. And it is coming back. Locke frowned. You're talking about the thing at the center? Yes, said the firstborn. It has moved again. It felt the obsidian flame retreat. And it sees your kind. Kira asked. Why now? Because you woke me. Because you are evolving too fast. And because ... it fears you. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Entire stars vanished, without explosion or trace. Ships near deep space reported seeing holes in reality, as if space was being eaten. Velkari colonies began to receive strange signals. And the Union's most secure vault outpost, Dorian, was breached from the inside. There were no survivors. Only a single word carved into the walls. Return. Back on Earth. The president called an emergency summit. All major powers gathered. But something was different now. This time, Earth was leading, not begging, not defending. Commanding. Commander. Locke spoke to the room via secure holofeed. The obsidian flame was not just a Velkari weapon. It was a key, a signal. He played the memory they saw. Some leaders wept, others stood in horror. But all of them understood. This was bigger than politics or territory. The old threat had returned, and it would come for them all. Still, there was hope. The firstborn had remembered something else. A location. An ancient vault, lost. In time, hidden in the remains of a dead system, the Talon Grave. There, long ago, the first weapon ever used against the dark had been buried. Not a bomb, not a fleet, but a song, a frequency, a signal made of sound, math, and light designed to weaken the entity at the center. The last time it was used, it cost billions of lives. But it worked. At least for a time. Now, it might be Earth's only chance. Locke turned to the firstborn. Can you guide us there? The ancient being answered, I remember the path, but it is not safe. Locke nodded. It never is. He ordered the Revenant to set course. As the ship prepared to leave. The stars around it seemed to tremble, not from engines, not from gravity, but from fear. Something was stirring in the dark. The entity had noticed the memory broadcast. It now knew the firstborn was awake, and it began to send dreams, nightmares into the minds of sentient life. People across planets screamed in their sleep. Pilots abandoned missions. A child on Mars began drawing the same spiral again and again, with her eyes closed. The spiral was ancient. And it meant only one thing. We are not alone anymore. The Revenant jumped to Talongrave. It was a dead system, just black rocks and radiation. Nothing should have survived here, but something had. The coordinates led them to a broken moon. Inside the moon was a structure. Old. Wrong. It bent geometry. Time moved slower near its walls. Even the AI sensors glitche. But the firstborn stepped forward and said only one word: home. They entered the vault. Inside were walls covered in strange markings. Lights that floated without source. And in the center, an orb, small, black, silent. It pulsed once when they entered. Kira whispered, "I don't know what it is." "It's not made of matter." The firstborn touched it gently. Lit up. And began to hum. The sound was not loud, not violent. It was beautiful. A low tone filled with sorrow. And when it played, the shadows around the vault vanished. Kira's reading spiked. Entity, it felt that. It moved away. Locke stood still. We just found its weakness. But the vault began to collapse. The signal had been sent, but it had also drawn something near. A fragment of the entity, not the full force, but enough to kill a planet. A storm of black mist and static raced toward the Revenant. They had seconds. Locke turned to the crew. Run. They barely escaped. The vault imploded. The moon broke apart. But the orb still with them was now bonded to the firstborn. He spoke once more. This is only the beginning. Across the galaxy, those who had laughed at humanity now prepared defenses. The Velkari built more weapons. The Union tried to negotiate peace. But it was too late. The center had awakened. The stars were moving. The rules were broken, and humanity had done the one thing the galaxy feared most. They remembered. They remembered how to fight. How to rebel, and how to win, even against the dark. The sound would not stop, even though the Revenant had jumped away. Even though the moon vault was gone, the song still played. Not through speakers, not through machines, but inside them. Inside their thoughts. Inside their blood. Kira tried everything to stop it, muting systems, shutting down internal comms, even disconnecting parts of the AI core. But the hum remained. Low. Unshockable. And slowly, it was changing something. Commander Locke stood in the quiet war room, eyes fixed on the projection of the firstborn. The ancient being sat perfectly still, eyes glowing faintly, the orb floating near his shoulder like a cold moon. I thought the song would silence the entity, Locke said. The firstborn finally spoke. No, it did not silence it. It provoked it. Kira turned from her console. Then what now? The firstborn replied. Now it will send its voice. Locke frowned. It's what? And then they heard it. A scream. Not human. Not alien. Something deeper. It wasn't just sound. It was force. Pain. Madness. Everyone on the Revenant dropped to their knees as the ship shook violently in the void. Alarms blared. Lights burst. And across the galaxy, entire species heard it. 2 ships in mid-flight veered off course. A moon shattered on the edge of Union space. And on a peaceful colony planet called Sierra 4, every child under the age of 10 drew the same thing on their walls. A black spiral. A single word written in a language they'd never been taught. Run. Back on Earth, The emergency council watched the recordings in horror. "Is this real?" one leader asked. Another nodded slowly. "It's not an attack. It's a warning." But Earth didn't panic. This time. They responded. Global defense networks. Aligned. Satellites repositioned. Ships in orbit activated. New stealth weaponry built using stolen Valkyrie tech and fueled by fragments of what the Revenant had found. But the most important signal came from the Earth's Revenant itself. A new message, broadcast in every major galactic frequency. Short. Clear. Deadly. The firstborn walks again. And Earth remembers. And the galaxy listened. The Valkyrie were not silent. Their leaders met in deep space, cloaked by gravity wells. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to strike Earth before the song spread. But High Chancellor Threx had already made his decision. He activated Protocol Blackfire, a mission so secret even the generals flinched. Its purpose? Destroy the song, erase its memory. And kill the firstborn. Before the signal reached the edge of the galaxy, 3 stealth cruisers were launched. Not just with weapons, but memory erasers. Devices meant to wipe entire species from history. Their first target was not Earth, but Sirifor, the planet where the children had drawn the spiral. On the Revenant, Kira tracked the movement. 3 ships entering Sirifor's orbit. No markings, no broadcast. Locke's eyes narrowed. Blackfire. He turned to the firstborn. "Can we stop them?" The firstborn nodded once. "If you trust the song." Kira frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," the firstborn said, "you must let it grow inside the ship." Kira hesitated. That could destroy the systems, or save everything. Locke said. He made the call. Let it grow. The Revenant changed. It stopped looking like a warship. Its hull shimmered. Its engine core began to hum, not like fuel, but like voice. And when the Revenant jumped toward Sirifor, space itself seemed to stretch. Not in silence, but in music. Sirifor's sky turned dark. The Blackfire cruisers began their final phase. The memory erasers charged up. Children across the planet collapsed, clutching their heads, eyes wide. But before the Blackfire weapons fired, the Revenant appeared, and it sang. The song now filled the orbit, not violent, not loud, but full of sorrow, fury, and light. The memory erasers cracked. Valkyrie systems glitched. And the firstborn, now standing at the ship's bow, raised his hand. He spoke only 2 words, "I remember." And the song struck. It didn't destroy the Blackfire cruisers. It unwrote them. Their matter twisted. Their engines turned inside out. And then they were gone. No wreckage. No signals. Just silence. As if they never existed at all. On Sirifor, the children stood up again, eyes calm, faces blank. They turned toward the sky and smiled. Kira watched in awe. They heard it. The firstborn nodded. They are the next protectors, the next singers. Locke asked, "What are they?" The firstborn answered, "Proof that life adapts, even against the dark." But far away, beyond the known galaxy, something stirred. Entity at the center had not been harmed. Only warned. It now focused, not on the galaxy. But on Earth. It saw the song. It saw the firstborn. It saw the children. And it remembered. Pain. It began to build. Flesh, matter, machines, a new shape, a herald, something that would carry its voice, its message. Its power. And it would not come with weapons. It would come with truth and offer a choice. Sing with us, or be silenced forever. Back on Earth, the song kept evolving. Scientists tried to study it. Priests tried to worship it. Soldiers tried to use it. But only one person truly understood it. Kira. Not because of knowledge, but because the song had begun to speak through her. Locke noticed it first. Her eyes, glowing faintly during sleep. her words sometimes rhyming in unknown languages. In the orb? It now hovered near her more than the firstborn. Kyra had become something else, and she knew what the next step was. She stood before Locke, calm and certain. "We have to go to the edge," she said. "The edge of what?" He asked. She looked out at the stars and whispered, "The edge of everything." The map didn't show it. No chart ever had, but Kira saw it in her mind. A place where stars didn't shine. Where gravity bent the wrong way, where time had no meaning. Where everything ended. She stood on the bridge of the Revenant, her voice soft but clear. "That's where it waits. That's where it began." Commander Locke stared at the display. There was nothing there. Just empty space. The firstborn walked closer. "That is not space. That is memory. A scar left behind when the galaxy first fought the dark." Locke turned. "And we're going straight into it?" Kira nodded slowly. "The edge of everything." Across the galaxy, chaos had begun. Worlds were evacuating. The Velkari were splitting, half their fleets refusing orders, the other half preparing to fire on Earth. The Union tried to hold peace talks, but no one trusted each other anymore. Rumors spread. Some believed Earth had awakened an ancient curse. Others believed Earth was the curse. But no one understood what the Revenant had become. It wasn't just a warship now. It was something new. Alive. Its engines didn't burn. They sang. And with Kira in command of its voice, the ship could see things others couldn't. It followed the signal. It followed the hum. And it reached the place where space died. At the edge, the stars faded. The screen on the bridge went black, not from damage, but from absence. They were looking at something that shouldn't exist. A rip in the galaxy, a wound that bled shadows. Kira whispered, "It's beautiful." Locke didn't agree. He saw only death. The firstborn stepped forward. "This is where we were born, and this is where we were broken." Kira nodded. "And if we want to end this, this is where it must happen." Suddenly, something passed by the ship. Fast. Huge. No engine signature. No heat. Just a feeling cold and ancient. Alarms triggered. Kira held up her hand. "Don't fire. It's not here to fight." Locke narrowed his eyes. "Then why is it here?" The firstborn answered softly, "To warn us." Before anyone could react, the shadows parted. And something emerged. Not a fleet, not a monster, but a herald. A being made of light and black glass, floating through the void, taller than any building on Earth. It didn't speak with a voice. It didn't use weapons. It simply appeared and sent a message straight into every mind on board. "We are the silence between worlds. We do not hate. We do not fear. We only end. You broke the rule. You brought the firstborn back, and now you must choose. Join the silence or be erased." The ship froze. Systems slowed. Crew members clutched their heads. Even the Kira's backup systems began to stutter. But Kira herself stood calm. The orb near her began to glow. She stepped forward, eyes glowing blue, her voice steady. "No." The herald tilted its head. "You refuse?" "I remember," she said. The firstborn joined her. "And so do I," the herald replied. "Then remember this." And it reached out, not physically, but into the ship's soul. And suddenly, the Revenant was no longer in space. It was somewhere else. Inside a memory, not their own. A battlefield older than galaxies. A war where the firstborn were born and where they were all slaughtered. Kira saw it. So did Locke. And in that place, they saw something else. The original rule. A message burned into the stars themselves. No being shall bring back what was made to fight the dark. Earth had broken that rule, and now the dark was coming to erase the mistake. Back on the bridge, The Revenant shook violently. Reality flickered. The Herald's power was pushing them out of existence. Locke ordered the engines to fire, but they didn't respond. The Firstborn turned to Kira. "You must sing." Kira closed her eyes, and the ship began to glow, not with fire, but with memory. Voices echoed through the metal. Old songs, forgotten prayers, lost battles. And then new ones. From Earth, from Mars. From every child who had heard the spiral. A harmony, a rebellion in sound, and the Herald began to shake. Its light cracked. Its voice faltered. The song had grown too strong. The Herald tried to escape, but the Revenant followed. It fired no weapons. Just sound. And with a final haunting note, the Herald vanished. Not destroyed. Just undone. The rip at the edge trembled. The entity at the center had felt the loss. It had lost one of its voices. And now it would answer. Not with a herald, but with itself. It began to move. Slowly. But with purpose. Across systems. Across light years. Across time. Toward Earth. The Revenant returned to real space. Smoke rose from its walls. The crew was silent. Kira fell to her knees, exhausted. The Firstborn looked at the stars. "We have little time." Locke asked, "How do we fight something that is silence?" Kira opened her eyes and said only one thing: "We make Earth sing." Back on Earth, scientists detected the change. Gravity shifted slightly. Solar patterns bent. The moon flickered in and out of phase. And deep underground, in a chamber built long ago and long forgotten, a second orb awakened. One Earth had kept. Hidden since the early days of first contact. It glowed softly now. As if it heard the Revenant's call. And above, in Earth's orbit, defense satellites activated their final protocol, Singularity Wake, a signal strong enough to reach the edge of everything, a song only humans could create, and only the dark could fear. The world didn't know. People went to work. Children went to school. Planes flew overhead, but deep below, Earth had changed. The sky looked normal. The seas were calm, but satellites orbiting Earth had gone silent for 7 seconds. Only 7. But in that time, every defense AI reset itself. Every ancient vault unlocked. And every deep core sensor whispered the same word: prepare. Kira stood in silence on the Revenant. The ship floated near the edge of the galaxy. The stars here flickered strangely, like they were being watched. "Entity is coming," she said. The Firstborn nodded slowly. "It has never moved before, not once in billions of years." Locke narrowed his eyes. "Then why now?" The Firstborn looked at Kira. "Because she made the song real again." Kira didn't argue. She could feel the rhythm inside her now. It wasn't just music anymore. It was instruction. It told her what to build. Where to go. And most of all, what was coming on Earth. The secret underground vault finally opened. Only 4 people in the world had access to it. And now, only one was left alive. Her name was Director Sora, Elian. She was 92 years old, and she had waited her entire life for this moment. The room inside the vault wasn't filled with weapons. It wasn't filled with war machines. It held only one thing: a song, pure data, carved in rotating cubes of memory. Older than Earth's first satellite, the room sang softly when she entered, and the sound, impossible to record, spoke only to her. "The signal has returned. Earth must sing back." Director Elian activated the final command. The satellites above Earth turned, locked into new positions. Massive transmitters hidden inside mountains and deep-sea stations began to warm up. Hadn't powered on in 1,000 years. The countdown began. Earth's answer: 6 hours. Back in space, the Revenant moved fast. It wasn't trying to run. It was trying to lead. Kira sent out a message to every human outpost. Colony and ship. Earth. Will sing. We must protect the voice. Some responded. Some didn't. But one group answered instantly. The Phantom. Wings, Earth's most advanced stealth fleet. They had no home. No command. No fear. And they began to gather. Not for battle, but for defense of the final note. But the dark was moving too. The entity had changed. No longer sent heralds. It sent void speakers, twisted echoes of long dead civilizations. Ships that looked like bones. Beings that screamed in reverse language. And everywhere they passed, light died. The Valkyrie tried to stop them. They failed. Union cruisers opened fire. Their weapons melted before impact. Even black holes bent around these creatures. They weren't fighting to win. They were unmaking the future. And their destination was clear. Colon Earth. Locke stood on the bridge. How long do we have? Kira answered quietly. Hours, maybe less. The firstborn turned to them. You must understand, this is not a war. Then what is it? Locke asked. The firstborn looked out into space. It is a test. And Earth is the final voice. Kira sat at the core console. The ship thrummed around her. She placed her hand on the panel, and her voice joined the hum. Not words, just feeling. And the ship responded. It opened doors, but memory gates. Visions flooded the crew. They saw the first Earth War. When humans fought under a sky filled with falling stars, they saw the first contact with alien species, both peaceful and deadly. And they saw something hidden. Earth had sung before. Once. Long ago. To end a war no one remembered. That song had saved the galaxy once. And now it had to be sung again. But this time it had to be louder. On Earth. The countdown passed 3 hours. The mountains hummed. The sea pulsed. People across the globe began to hear soft vibrations in their bones, like the planet itself was breathing. Director. Elian stood in the control center. A technician turned to her. Ma'am, we don't know what this does. We only have theories. Elian smiled faintly. We don't need to know. Earth remembers. Outside, in orbit, thousands of ships now surrounded the planet. Most weren't built for war. They were willing to die because they'd heard the song. In dreams. In distant pulses. In the way there are. Children looked at the stars and started humming songs that had no words. Earth wasn't just a world anymore. It was becoming an instrument. Suddenly blackness approached. Not space. Not ships. But absence. The first void speakers arrived. They didn't fire. They just stared. And whispered. End. Forget. Fall. Earth's orbit cracked with pressure. Satellites folded. Ships screamed. But then the first note played. It wasn't loud. It wasn't clear. But it was real. From the Himalayas. From Mariana's Trench. From deep African caves. A chord was struck. And the entity paused. For the first time. It hesitated. The firstborn turned to Kira on the Revenant. Now. She stood. And sang. Not alone. The Revenant backed her. The satellites echoed. And Earth roared. Void speakers shattered. The blackness recoiled. And the entity realized this wasn't just a planet. This was resistance. Made of blood, loss, memory, and fire. And as Earth's song rose, something impossible happened. Stars that had died relit. Broken species began to wake. And the galaxy itself leaned in to listen, because Earth was singing, and it wasn't finished yet. The stars were shaking, not from weapons. Not from war, but from sound. Earth's song had begun, and the galaxy was listening. For the first time in billions of years, something had pierced the silence beyond the stars. Something alive, something human. The entity stopped. The void speakers around Earth froze in place, not because they were scared, because they were confused. They had never heard. This before, this sound carried memory, but also defiance, pain, but also hope that it didn't come from machines, that it came from millions of voices, humans, AI, old soldiers, young children all, singing together in their own way. Some used their voice, some used thought, some just felt it but together. They made one message: we remember. We forgive, but we do not surrender. The entity replied it didn't speak it simply unfolded. A shape beyond reason, a storm of darkness, wider than galaxies. Its presence warped gravity, time, even light. Entire systems began to vanish as it moved absorbed. Without a sound, the stars near Earth began to dim. The temperature across. Planets dropped. The moon cracked slightly at its core. And then, the darkness spoke, not to threaten, not to promise, but to offer a choice. Fall silent, and the pain ends. Or resist, and lose everything. The Revenant hovered just outside Earth's orbit. Kira stood at the heart of the ship. She looked. Calm, but her pulse beat with fire. The entity doesn't understand, she whispered. It thinks we fear death. Locke clenched his fists. We don't. We fear forgetting who we are. The firstborn stepped forward. Then show them. Let the song finish. The ship opened fully now, panels unfolding like petals, revealing glowing spirals of ancient memory tech. These weren't weapons, they were amplifiers. Kira placed her hands on the core. The ship responded, and Earth sang louder, so loud. The darkness broke, the void speakers shattered, the entity screamed, not in anger, but in confusion. It had forgotten sound, it had forgotten feeling, and now it was hearing a voice that didn't want to rule, didn't want to destroy, but simply wanted to be free. Then came the moment. The entity lashed forward, a beam of collapsing space, heading straight for Earth. Nothing could block it. Not shields, not fleets, not hope. But the Revenant moved. It jumped between Earth and the beam. It couldn't stop the blow, but it could absorb it. Kira closed her eyes. She didn't scream. She sang, and as the beam hit the ship sang back. A final note, high and sharp, filled with every memory Earth had, and the beam bounced, turned back, and hit the entity. Center. What followed wasn't an explosion. It was a collapse. The entity's core opened wide, and inside it, Kira saw the truth. It had once been alive. It had once loved. But over billions of years, it had lost everything. It erased the galaxy, not because of hate, but because it could no longer feel. Kira did the only thing she could. She stepped into the beam, into the entity, and she gave it one gift, a final voice, a final song. Of love, of pain. Of defiance, of humanity. And the darkness. Cracked. Light poured out of the wound. Not fire. Not destruction, but life. The stars returned. The systems rebuilt. The dead signals came back online. And the entity faded, not destroyed, but healed. And as it vanished, it whispered one last word: thank you. The Revenant floated silently. Its outer hull melted. Its core fading. Kira's voice was gone, but her message remained across every world, on every signal. A soft song played, somewhere between sorrow and strength. A reminder that when rules break and darkness rises, Earth remembers, and Earth sings. Months later, a new council formed. Not just aliens, not just humans, but a union of survivors. They placed a monument above Earth. Simple. Silver. Spinning in quiet space. On it, only 3 words. 1. Rule changed, and far beyond the stars. Something stirred. Not darkness. Not silence, but a hum. The galaxy wasn't alone anymore. It had heard Earth's voice, and it would never forget it. The galaxy was quiet. Not dead, not empty, not just quiet. The kind of silence that comes after thunder when the storm has passed. But the air still holds its memory. Earth floated at the center. Now, not by power, by force, but because the galaxy had heard its voice, and it had listened. In the great halls of the new galactic union, built not in a capital city, but in orbit around Earth, beings of every shape gathered, tall ones with eyes like stars, soft ones made of living gas, even machines, who no longer served masters. They had come to decide one thing. What rule would guide them now? For billions of years, the galaxy had followed one simple rule: do not awaken the dark. That rule was broken, and humanity had paid the price. But in doing so, they had shown something more powerful, a new rule. Human rule. One that didn't come from fear, one that came from hope. On Earth, people rebuilt. Cities glowed brighter. Oceans shimmered deeper. Children drew stars in the sand again. And though Kira was gone, her song remained. It played quietly in the winds. Sometimes old soldiers would stop walking and just listen. The melody was simple, but it made even the strongest cry. Locke walked through the ruins of the old vault with the firstborn beside him. This was where the last song started. Locke whispered. The firstborn nodded. And where the new one must begin. They reached the control panel. It was off now. Cold, but Locke placed his hand on it, and the vault whispered. Not in Kira's voice, not in the entities, but in a new voice, one made of many voices, 1,000 different languages. 1,000 memories, one message. The rule is no longer fear. The rule is stand together. The rule is speak truth. The rule is remember. Locke smiled. We'll never forget. Across the stars, strange things began to happen. Dead systems lit up. Old probes returned home. Even ancient threats ones, forgotten before, even existed. Paused. Because the galaxy was changing. The void speakers were gone. The entity was healed. But the scars remained. And in those scars, something grew. Not power. Not empire. But understanding. Species that once feared each other now exchanged messages daily. Former enemies sent envoys, not with weapons, but with music. And every time someone asked how this all began, they were pointed to one place, one planet. Earth. The phantom wings returned, but not for war. They became watchers, guardians of the stars, not rulers. Not soldiers, but the first to hear the next great silence and prevent it. And though some still distrusted humans, many more had learned. Humanity didn't want to conquer. They didn't want to rule. They just wanted to belong. And when that was denied, they made the galaxy listen. With a song. 1 year after the entity faded, a child was born. On Mars. She had dark skin and silver eyes. The doctors ran tests, but what surprised them wasn't her DNA. It was her voice. She sang before she could speak, and her song matched the one that saved the stars. People began to whisper, Kira lives again. But the firstborn only smiled. No, he said, she gave us the song. The rest is ours now. In the skies above Earth, the monument floated. Its metal, now etched with new words. Not by leaders. But by the people. Simple. Final. The rule was broken. Humanity sang. The galaxy listened. And beneath that, in smaller text, we will never be silent again. It began with silence. Not fear, not war, but silence so deep, the stars seemed to breathe. Earth had become the center, not of power, but of meaning. The rule was rewritten. The entity was gone. Peace had come. But peace, like all things, does not last forever. Because far beyond the edge of the known galaxy, something answered. Locke stood at the edge of the new observatory, high above Earth's surface. His uniform was clean, His heart was not Dot. It had been 1 year since Kara vanished inside the entity, 1 year since the song ended. And now it had begun again. Dot low frequency. Dot impossible to trace. Dot it played on every sensor. One word, repeating, listening. The new council called it the echo. Dot not a threat. Not yet, but not human. And not from any known species. The strange part? It responded. Only when human voices spoke. Dot no alien signal triggered it. Dot no AI voice moved it. Dot only humans. Dot singing. Dot speaking. Dot even whispering. Dot and every time they did, the echo repeated. Listening? We remember. You are not alone. The firstborn watched. From the orbiting station, he had lived longer than most stars. He had fought wars older than galaxies. But this was new. He called Locke. You know what this means, the firstborn said. Locke nodded. They heard her. Kira. No, Locke whispered. Something older than even the entity. Something buried. Something that couldn't speak until we did. Across Earth, strange things began happening. Children started drawing constellations that didn't exist. Plants in deep forests glowed when music played. One woman in Australia began humming tunes she'd never learned, and satellites showed that those exact frequencies shaped unknown star paths. The stars were answering back. Not in violence, but in communication, like they had been waiting for someone to break the silence. And Earth had done it. The council was divided. Some said this was the next threat. Others said it was the next step. But humans didn't panic. They listened. They learned. And they sent a message, not from a government, not from an army, but from everyone. A single broadcast. We hear you. We are not afraid. We remember too. We are ready to meet you. They didn't expect a reply, but it came. Not with words. Not with ships. But with light. A beam of impossible color cut through the sky. Above Mars. No heat. No damage. Just one image. Floating in space. A symbol that matched the monument above Earth. And next to it, another message. You sang. Now, we will speak. At the edge of the galaxy, in a place no map reached, a door opened. Not a gate, not a wormhole, but a door. And beyond it, voices. Not human, not alien. Something else. Something that had waited in silence, watched the fall of empires, heard the death of suns, and waited for one sound, the sound of a species that remembered. One that did not run from pain. One that did not destroy to rule. One that sang when all hope was gone. And that species was human. Locke prepared the ship. Not for war. Not for defense. But for something far more dangerous. First contact with those who had never been found. He stood at the bridge. The crew beside him was small, but each had been changed by the song. And as the ship powered up, the stars around them shimmered like they were opening there. Eyes. The journey began. And Earth watched. Listened. And whispered back. We are here. We broke the silence. And now we are listening too. Above Earth, the final words were added to the monument. The rule was broken. The song was heard. The galaxy changed. And now the stars speak back.